Good. All right, first step is look for greatest common factor. And I'm going to tell you that we ask that same question so many times. You'll probably see it on the final every test. You're going to see that. All right, somebody give me two numbers. They multiply to be 15 and add to 8. 3 and 5. All right, somebody else. 4 and negative 7. Okay, sorry. Then multiply to negative 28 and add to negative 3. 4 and negative 7. All right. Somebody else. Multiply to 16 and add to negative 10. Negative 8 and negative 2. Okay, when you're trying to determine if it's a minimum or a maximum, you're only looking at this first number. None of this matters. Just that first number. If that first number is negative, that means that it is a frown. And frowns have a maximum. If that first number is positive, that means it's a smile and it has a minimum. All right, any questions so far? So far we good? All right, I don't expect anybody to remember number 4, so let's talk about it. You're going to look at your Y values. Okay, so see how 12 is positive, 3 is positive, 6 is negative. Whenever you see how I change from a plus to a minus right here, what that tells me is that I have a solution here. So my first root is going to be between negative 2 and negative 1. Because that's the first time it changes signs. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? Shake your head. Give me something here. We need some good tests. That don't make sense? Okay. Oh, it does? Okay. I'm like, I just want to make sure, y'all. Pre-Calc had their first test yesterday, and it was amazing. And I want you all to have a good test tomorrow. So please ask questions. All right. So then it's still negative, and then boom, I went back positive. So immediately there was another sign change. This would be my second. It would fall between 0 and 1. So when you do the same thing on the next table, you can see how I have a sign change from here to here, which means my first root is going to fall between negative 6 and negative 5. And then I have another sign change from here to here. So my second root is between negative 4 and negative 3. All right, last table. Sign change. So my sign change happens here. This is my first root. These are the numbers you give me though. So you're looking for where the Y changes, but the X is the root. Roots are X values, not the Y values. I need the X values. So what numbers am I going to put on these two blanks right here? Anybody besides Tanya? I want to make sure I got more than one person.
2 and 3.
Okay, that's what I want to hear. Choir. Same thing. Going down the line, I switch from here to here. These are the numbers, 5 and 6. Any questions about that first page? Anything on the first page? First test looks almost identical to the review, so setting you up to be successful. Okay. Factoring. First thing you want to do, you're going to look for your GCF. So, Tanel, I'm getting ready to do this page that you asked me about. So, you might want to put away your laptop. And then you have to set it equal to 0. Anytime I go over the equal sign, it changes. So do you see how this is positive? When I move it, it's going to become negative. So I get x squared plus x minus 20 equals 0. Again, notice how this switch signs. So A is 1, B is 1, and C is negative 20. So I'm going to make my x. I don't have a GCF. At the top of the x, I'm going to put A times C, which is negative 20. At the bottom, positive 1. Okay. Now, because this A is positive, I don't need to make a box. So you can take out your multiplication charts. You can also use that on the test tomorrow if that's helpful for you. But just give me a thumbs up when you think you know our numbers. They multiply to be a negative 20 and add to a positive 1. Okay, I got one person. So we know that for this one is 5 and 4. Which one of those will I make negative though? The 5 or the 4? 4. The 4. So I'm going to put a plus 5 and a minus 4. Now let's set both of these equal to 0 because it says solve. So if x plus 5 equals 0, subtract the 5, you get x equals negative 5. If x minus 4 equals 0, add the 4, you get x equals positive 4. And that would be your two solutions. So set it equal to 0, look for a GCF. For the second one over here, do you see how this is negative? It says minus 2x. So when I bring it over, it's going to become a what? A positive 2x. So this is going to be x squared plus 2x equals 0. Look for a GCF. The GCF is x. So I have x plus 2 left. When you take out, when I take out a GCF, that just means I divided these by x. So this is my first factor, x equals 0. So that means that's my first answer. My first answer is just 0. To find my second answer, set it equal to 0, subtract the 2, and you get a negative 2. Okay. First thing we need to do, set it equal to 0. So when I move that positive 4 over, it becomes a negative 4. Now this time we do have to make a box because our A value is 3. So I'm going to put these two in the box first. On top of the x, I have A times C. A times C is 3 times negative 4. What's 3 times negative 4? Negative 12, that goes on top. Positive 4 goes on the bottom. Don't say it out loud. But we need two numbers that will multiply to be negative 12, but add to a positive 4. So I'll give you a moment to think about that. See if you can figure out my numbers. That's the hardest part to factor in, is finding your numbers. So, yeah, look at 12. What are some numbers that we can multiply to get 12? We know we can do 1 times 12. I know I could do 2 times 6, and I know I can do 3 times 4. Which one of those pairs do you think I'm going to use to get to 4? Good job. Which one is negative, the 2 or the 6? The 2. So put a negative 2x, a positive 6x. Can you say that one more time, Charles? Oh, yeah. So the 2 squares that I have in green, those can flip-flop. So these 2, they don't have to be. You can flip-flop these. But the 3x squared and the -4, they cannot be moved. All right, so let's go ahead and look for our GCF. The only thing I can take out of the top row is x. What do you think I'm taking out the bottom row? What's the largest number that can go into 6 and 4? 3x. Can't take out a 3. Oh, maybe, oh, you're up here. That's where you are. That's okay. I was like, wait, 3x? No, but you're right. That first column is 3x. Yeah, that is true. All right, so what do you think I'm going to... You know what? I kind of like doing that way, taking that out, because now we just need to figure out what's the only thing I can multiply by 3x to get to 6x. Well, this has to be a 2. So I actually do like taking it out that way, putting that 3x up there first, because it kind of helps you figure out what we need to take out the other squares. So my last square, or my last column, I should say, what do you think I'm taking out of these? A 4? Yeah, because you got to remember, I already got an x. So what am I multiplying by x to get to negative 2x? So that means I have to take out a negative 2 up here. And you can go back and check that you took out the right thing, because when you multiply them, it should give you what you have on the inside. All right, so let's go ahead and set both of those equal to 0. 3x minus 2 equals 0. X plus 2 equals 0. And I am recording this review. It'll be posted so you can go back and listen to it again if there's something that you didn't quite understand. So I'm going to add 2 and divide by 3, which is going to give me a positive 2/3 or 0.67. I'll take either one. And the second one, I'm going to subtract 2, so I get a negative 2. All right, I'm going to let you work this one out on your own, but I will set it up for you. This is going to come across. So when it comes across, it's 2x squared minus 3x. That 3x becomes negative, and this is a minus 20. I'm going to set up the box for you, and then you all can finish it out. On top of the x is always a times c, which in this case is negative 40. On the bottom is b. All right, so I'm going to pause that one there. Now let's go down to question 6. Question 6 says, write it in factor form and then sketch a graph. So fortunately for us, a is 1. We don't need to make a box. So we got a, b, and c. I need 2 numbers that would multiply to 6 and add to 7. So I'm going to just make my parentheses over here. Go ahead and put an X in the front. What are our numbers that multiply to be 6 and add to 7? 1 and 6, who agrees? 1 and 6. Are they both positive? Okay. So I have a +1 and a +6. So go ahead and put +1, +6. That's factor form. But to find your solution, That's where we set them equal to 0. We set our factors equal to 0 to get our solutions. So solutions, we set the factor equal to 0. And what would be our numbers? So when you have x plus 1, subtract the 1. So that means my first solution is x equals -1. Put that here. My second one, I'm going to subtract 6. So x equals -6. I'm going to put that here. And then when it says sketch the graph, I'm going to put a point at the -1. And I'll put a point at -6. Is this one going to be a smile or a frown? A smile, because A is positive. And as long as you have a smile and it goes through those points, you can make it that way. You can make it come down. It doesn't matter how low it comes, is what I'm trying to say. All right, let's keep moving. Number 7. Let's see which ones are true, but then we got to correct the ones that are false. So A, is A true or false? True. So what does it say do? It says circle the true statement. So this is true. Well, let me circle the true ones in green. All right, the range. Is the range also -infinity to infinity? No. So this range is coming from the bottom, which means it's coming from -infinity, and it stops right here. So where did I draw that green line? Where did it stop at? 9. Good. So question B is false. It should be -infinity to 9. Yes, -infinity will always go first, because interval notation is the smallest number to the biggest number, and -infinity is the smallest number in the world. There's nothing smaller than -infinity, so that always goes first. All right, C, true or false? Who says C is true? Who says it's false? Oh, I'm nervous. I only got 2 people. I'm going to ask one more time. C, who says it's true? Who says it's false? It is false. This is also false. It's false because how do you know how many solutions you have? What are you looking at? How many times it passes through X? It passes twice. So there are 2 solutions. Not 1, but 2. Question D. The vertex, that's where the graph makes the U-turn, is located at -2, +9. Who says D is true? Who says D is false? All right, I agree that it is true. E. E has a minimum. E says the vertex is a minimum. Who says that's true? Who says it's false? I agree. It's a frown, which means it has a max, not a min. The axis of symmetry, that's the middle of the graph. So if I were to draw that in, that would be right here. All right, is that at +2, at x equals +2 or x equals -2? -2, good. So this is also false. That should be -2. The x-intercepts are located at -5 and -1. Wait, sorry. Are located at +5 and -1. Who says that's true? Who says it's false? It is. They have the signs flipped. So what it should say was -5 and +1. The A value is positive. Who says that's true? Who says it's false? How do we know it's not positive?
It's not smiling.
It's not smiling. It's frowning. It's false. That means it's really a negative. And then lastly is the y-intercept. So the y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis. All right, so let me zoom on in here. That's right here. That's the y-intercept, which looks like it's at positive 5. So that means that this is also false. It should be 0, positive 5. All right, how we feeling so far? We already went through 3 pages. We all getting good grades so far, right? All right, last one is the graph. We know we're going to have a graph because we spend a lot of time graphing. All right, A, B, and C. 1, 4, 3. Axis of symmetry. You always flip B. So if B is positive 4, I'm going to put a negative 4. And that's times 2. And then I put a 1 here. So go ahead, take a moment if you haven't already. And figure out what is the axis of symmetry. Where should it be? X equals, is it positive 2, negative 2, positive 4, negative 4? What y'all thinking? Negative 2. Now, these two are the easiest. I should have started with these two, actually. The y-intercept. Because which one of those letters am I looking at for the y-intercept? Is it A, B, or C? C. So we could have actually did that first. We're going to write that as an ordered pair, though. And we could also answer max or min. Who says this graph has a maximum? Who says it has a minimum? It is a minimum because this is a smile. A is happy. So that means we have a minimum. All right, so now we need to pick up our calculator for the rest. I'm going to go ahead and fill in my chart. And you're just going to type in and see what you get. So go ahead and start doing that. Gotta get my little thing because this is making too much noise. All right, so I'm gonna give you all a minute. Okay, go ahead and find your 5 numbers. got our numbers. So what we get for our numbers? For the first one, I know the first one should be 3 because that's our y-intercept. Who got 3 for the first one? All right, what you get for the second one? What you get for -1? 0. What you get for -2? -1. So I'm going to pause right there because that is my vertex. So now I'm going to answer that question because this middle one, that's my vertex right here. All right, so I'm going to put -2, -1 right there. All right, and then if it doesn't repeat, you did it wrong. So who had their table like that? All right, let's plot them. Now we know our domain. Please, everybody get that right tomorrow. I was literally like shed a tear, like a literal tear. A real tear will fall from my eye if somebody misses that tomorrow because that's never changed. Okay? I just want y'all to know that. If y'all want to make me cry, then miss it. All right, range. Now for the range, this is my lowest point. When I say lowest, I'm talking about Y. So this is where my graph starts. So what number did I highlight in green? -1. So that's my lowest number. So I don't start with infinity because this one is going up. I'm going to start this one with a -1. And then it goes up forever. All right, solutions. So Charles, what would you say for solutions? Where are my 2 places? +1, -1. All right, who agrees? Okay, well.